After years of frustration and legal fights, it all comes down to this. Jackson County voters have a big decision to make this week. Will Frank White keep his job as county executive? We're devoting our entire broadcast to Tuesday's special recall election, so you're prepared to go to the polls. White, a Kansas City baseball icon, has been in the county's top job since 2016, after the last county executive stepped down. He's been elected as exec 3 times, most recently in 2022. But strained relationships in county government and growing turmoil over taxes fueled a petition drive to oust him from office.
You want to see how pissed off people can get, make them think they're going to lose their homes because we've screwed up.
The most vocal critics call out the county's handling of property assessments. Taxpayers battled issues in 2019, then in 2023, when assessments skyrocketed to an average of 30%, more than 100% in some cases. The blowback led to protests, long lines, even investigations, with a judge ruling the county didn't follow the law. Missouri's Tax Commission ordered the county to roll back and cap assessments, a move County Executive White fought and vetoed. The whole process frustrated several homeowners who were worried how they'd pay for it all.
When you're on a fixed income and your medical bills, the extra taxes hurt you.
I said, so what are they trying to do in Jackson County? Get all of the seniors to move out because they're going to take our homes and put them on the courthouse steps because we can't pay.
Jackson County did eventually roll back to the 15% cap and approve a senior property tax credit program. Still, many low-income families joined tens of thousands of homeowners appealing their new assessments. Then there's the stadium issue. Last year, the county exec fought a sales tax extension meant to keep the Royals and Chiefs in Jackson County. It failed. A number of voters criticized his handling of talks between the teams and the county. This year, White pitched a new plan to earmark the tax for the Chiefs only. Suffice it to say, there was a lot to talk about. I sat down with White one-on-one to get his take on these issues, the recall itself, and his responsibility as county exec. Thanks for being here. We know voting is already happening for this election, so let's start with the million-dollar question. Why should you keep your job?
I should keep my job because I think I'm doing a great job for Jackson County. This is my 11th year at the county. First year was with the legislature. And when I look at how far the county's come, I really feel that we've worked hard to bring the county to where it is today. I inherited a system that was full of deferred maintenance from my jail to a lot of the other issues in our county. And from the time that I took this position, it's been really just taking that deferred maintenance and making it real. And we've done it with our jail. We have a new detention center online at the end of the year. We were able to purchase a new health department building. Our old one was 1934. We've been able to enhance all the benefits of our associates to retain our folks. You know, we have a strong pension plan from 74% when I inherited it to 93% at this point. But I think everything is pointing toward progress, and I'd like to keep that going.
Let's talk about one of the major issues voters think needs some attention here, and that's property taxes, right? Sure. We've seen this for years now. Assessment issues have been happening. Obviously, 2023 is still top of mind, right, with tens of thousands of appeals. What do you say to voters who want some accountability?
Well, I think that as a county executive, I'm accountable for the things that I can control, no doubt about it. Our assessment issues don't just start at the county. We can't make these laws at the county. They're made at the state. Then the assessor takes a state mandate and then she puts it into a plan. Then that plan is looked at by the State Tax Commission. Also, it doesn't really take effect until the legislature passes that plan.
You appointed Gail McCann Beatty
in
2018. Do you stand by that decision, considering everything that we've seen?
I think when you look at it from the standpoint that she's following the law, and I have to support everything that she's done. The State Tax Commission required that Jackson County bring their property values up to market value, and they're looking at 90% to 110%. And I think what Gail did was she did her job. She hit the 90% mark. And then you had a lot of turmoil with the State Tax Commission handing down this mandate and that mandate. They came down and said, hey, you guys, we want you guys to go at 15%.
They set that cap. You vetoed
cap.
that initially. What would you do differently in this process? Because there's a lot of angst out there, especially from people who are worried. We heard from some of them who are worried that they couldn't afford their home because of the massive increases in assessments.
And I think that when you look at that, I think it's from a county executive standpoint, My job is to make sure that those residents have an appeals process that they can get relief from the Board of Equalization or the State Tax Commission. Myself personally, I'm not allowed to set values. And so I can do clerical stuff. I can change addresses. I can, if you double tax, I can do things that way. But I think appealing to the State Tax Commission for a better process is the thing that we've been trying to do. I think that system is broken. And if you look at the 114 counties in the state, 88 are pushing back against the State Tax Commission. And you heard what Platte County had to go through when they dropped a mandate on them at the last minute. So they fought back and went from 15% down to, I think, 8%. So it's the inconsistency of the State Tax Commission that's got everybody in a quandary at this point. So,
Would you do anything different, assessment-wise?
well, I mean, other than I definitely have to follow the law. That's number one. And then you basically have to make sure that there are things in place that can help people with their appeals. I know that we had 54,000 appeals in 2023, and 15,000 of those never showed. So we're just trying to figure out when you have over 300,000 properties, then what is that percentage that's acceptable? But I think the key right now is just to make sure that there's an appeals process in place for folks to get relief. If you didn't have that, then you'd have even more serious problems.
Aside from property taxes, you've said repeatedly that you think that the lack of a stadium deal is a reason that we're in this position right now with this recall election. Why is that?
Well, Cody, when you look back at 2023, we talked about that. That's kind of when the recall thing kind of started, but it was dead in the water. Right after the stadium vote failed, the unions, the Heavy Constructors Association, they got together, they pumped $400,000 into the recall. And I think that's what kicked it off. But it all boils down to the stadium deal. I think that right now I've sent proposals to the Chiefs, but no response to that proposal.
Yeah, when was the last time you spoke to either team?
I'm thinking this has probably been about 4 months ago. We sent the proposal to the Chiefs. The Royals were dealing with the city, trying to decide whether or not they were going to be able to go downtown. So we decided to offer the Chief a proposal on the 3/8 sales tax. We basically are trying to create a situation where the county itself can be a partner with the teams, and the community can be a partner with the teams, because the community benefits was a big part of that early discussion. And we offered 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 for the Chiefs, 1/3 for county infrastructure and public safety, and 1/3 for university health, which we're responsible for also. So what better community benefit can you give to your community than better health care?
If you stayed on as county executive, what would your involvement be in a stadium deal? Because as you said, communication has kind of ceased between you and the teams.
Well, I think it's ceased because I think everybody's waiting to see what the recall election does. I think at some point both teams will have to say something one way or the other. I think that right now I think the situation right now is that if I'm not in office, then my biggest concern is that who's next and what's next. And I think that when I look at the last election, then we had two legislators, Abarca and McGee. Rather than going through the negotiating process and let me do it, they went around me and got it on the ballot. And it was on the ballot without an assigned agreement by the teams. And so when that went on the ballot like that, then I think the voters, they saw that. It was lack of transparency, and I lost by 16 points. And I think the voters spoke loudly, and that they want a better, they want more transparency. They want to know that the teams are, even though we love the teams, we want both teams to stay here, they want to make sure that this is a partnership that's going to be beneficial not only to the teams, but to the community itself.